Hi, I'm Josh. Here at Landscapeplus, our aim is to give all landscape professionals the confidence to design and install outdoor lighting. Today, we're going to take a look at a few key principles that we use in the office every single day to support landscapers and designers when planning a lighting project. So I'm going to share my screen with you now, and let's dive into a plan and take a look at these principles. So the first one we've got is viewpoints. So it's really important for us when we're trying to understand what our customers are looking to do is to know where their clients are going to be using the garden. So that's high traffic areas like paths, social spaces, or viewpoints from the house that could be from their kitchen. It's really important that they'll be able to enjoy their garden at night time from anywhere. So the first thing we'll do before we even consider the lighting is just understand where that garden's going to be used and where it's going to be viewed from. So you'll be able to see on my screen here, I've highlighted a few key areas that to me, I think will probably be the most high traffic. So for example, coming into the back garden, the main paths as you navigate around to the social space or to the back doors. You've got the viewpoint from the kitchen, so from the windows in the house as well. So those are kind of like the key areas where people will be moving through or viewing from the house. So when we're looking at our lighting, and we'll move on to that in a second, we need to be thinking about, well, where will this be seen from? And that is how I get an idea of that. The next principle is functional lighting. So this is the first layer to outdoor lighting, and in my opinion, it's the most important. It's about your client's safety. It's about how they navigate through their garden at night. And it's about sort of keeping people safe. So what I've done on this plan is I've highlighted a few key areas that stand out to me. So when I'm taking a look at this, these are the first ones that stick out, and I think, do you know what, that needs to be highlighted to make sure that your customer can get around safely. So first of all, I've highlighted the steps there down into the fire pit, really essential to get those lit. You've got key pathways where you'll be moving from the house to social spaces. You've got the driveway. So keeping it simple, just those three areas, and let's talk about those. So step lighting, for example, you can keep things really simple with something recessed into the side wall, just highlighting those steps so that when they're going down, they can see what they're doing. Or you've got another option, you could look at some kind of LED recessed into the overlap. There are so many different ways you can have fittings recessed into the steps, but that is the first thing that I would look at for those, is making sure that they're lit. Pathways, like I said, moving around the garden, so many different options for lighting them up, but making sure that your client can get around safely. I've got a really good example image there on the bottom left-hand side where we've highlighted where the boundary is, or where the edge of that path is, to make sure that when people are navigating around, they're not going to fall into that water. That could be a feature, that could be a pond, it could just be a different area of the garden that you don't want people walking in, planting, for example. But it's really, really key to highlight those areas and make sure that people know where they're going. And then finally, driveway, just keeping things simple. When you're coming into your driveway at night time, you need to be able to see where you're going. And it might be that there's not enough light coming from the house. And in that instance, you need to put something else in. So I've got a couple of images here where you can see we've highlighted the edge of that driveway to make sure that they can park their car safely. So that's functional lighting. The next three, all functional lighting including that, is something we call the FAF principle. So breaking that down, the first F in FAF principle is functional lighting, and then the second is aesthetic. So this really is where a garden comes to life, and you connect things together. This is really where you can start to have a bit of fun with a project. Some projects, there might not be the budget for it, and you just have to do that functional lighting, and that's that. But then when there is a budget for it, you can start looking at something a bit more decorative and a bit more creative. So again, keeping things simple, I've highlighted a few areas on this plan where we would look at aesthetic lighting. For example, planting areas. So different planting areas, you could have uplighters, downlighters, social spaces to give a bit of mood, a bit of ambiance, create some scenery within the garden. And let's talk about planting first of all. So I've got a few example images here of some decorative planting lights, and also highlighting a small tree within planting. So these are just a few ideas of things that you can do to get creative and have some aesthetic feel in the garden. Next of all, you've got that social space, again, creating a bit of mood in that area. Also, it's a usable space, so you need it to be lit up. If someone, if your client's enjoying that area with family, they want to, not only are they going to want to be able to see and get around safely, they also, you want to create a bit of scenery, a bit of atmosphere. And those are just a few things that you can do to create that aesthetic feel in a garden. For me, it's about bridging the gap between functional and also actually highlighting everything, bringing it together, connecting the garden up so that it's all one. And you can really, really elevate the garden that way. The next F in the FAF principle is feature lighting. These are pretty much, in my opinion, they're kind of in order of importance, really. Functional lighting, obviously, is almost a need. Aesthetic is just when you're starting to get creative and play around with the garden. But feature lighting is really when you can put your stamp on a project and highlight something special. So I'm talking about water features, sculptures, feature trees, anything like that, anything on that project that you really, you've worked hard on, you want it to be highlighted, you want your client to be able to see that all of the time. That's where feature lighting comes in. So I've highlighted a few areas on this one. In this example, I'm thinking of large, beautiful pots with some gorgeous trees, feature trees in, and I've chucked a few examples up on here for you to take a look at. If you've gone to the effort of putting something unique like that into a garden, it needs to be highlighted. And I've also, this is just one project, but I've put a few other example images up here for you to take a look at as well. So that's, like a feature pot or a feature tree. And then we've got a couple of other options, sculptures and water features. Anything like that in the garden that is different, that is, in daytime, you think, wow, that's gorgeous. Why not look at it at night? It brings another layer to the garden. Absolutely fantastic. And that's everything from me today, really. So just to sort of go back over everything we've spoken about. Viewpoints, for me, the key there is just to make sure that everywhere that you're looking at the garden, whether that's for being sat down in the garden in a social area, or whether that's being inside in the kitchen looking out of the garden or through some double doors, you want to just consider where the lighting's going to be for your client to make sure that they're going to be able to see what they can see in the day, but at night. Secondly, we've got the functional lighting. So think of that as your safety aspect, the real foundations of a lighting plan when it comes to a garden, making sure that you've lit up anything that could be a trip hazard or just guiding your customer around the garden safely. Then you've got aesthetic, where you can get creative, add your flair to the garden, bring in some decorative lighting and get creative. And then you've got your feature lighting, which is really when you can put your stamp on that garden and highlight something special. I really hope you guys are taking something valuable away from today. I have. It's been really enjoyable going through this. And yeah, we'll see you soon.